What really happened with the PawSox leaving?
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you at part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
So we will forego any other issues because I think there's so much to discuss in depth, other than to say if you're watching this on its original air date, which is Wednesday, August 29th, the insanity of sending kids to school in hot boxes without air conditioners at 96 degrees and index of 102 just blows my mind. Blows my mind. The pure stupidity of superintendents in this state not to be able to say, hey, you know what? And the scam that they pull, which is let's get the kids in for a couple hours and ship them out and it'll count for a day. I thought they were committed to education. Anyway, the chairman, Larry Lucchino, and the vice president, general manager, Dan Ray from the PawSox are here. They've been kind enough to show up and kind of talk about this thing. For those of you who watch and listen to the Dan York productions here, you know that I have been bullish on the PawSox Stadium project, thought it was slowly appropriate for us to have a public-private partnership. So that stuff is kind of a given, but what happened and what transpired and what happens in the next couple of years is still something that needs to be figured out here. We'll do our best to do it. So here was the headline that you know, blew us all over on a Friday. And you know, by the way, make sure that I'm on vacation when you want to blow big news. I can go 15 years back on days that I just took off to play golf with my high school buddies, and Lucchino decides he's going to Worcester. I mean, it's like, come on, man, really? But here are the competing headlines and the stadium renderings. Cry a tear for what would have been in the corner of 95 as the gateway to Rhode Island, and here is a rendering about what Worcester is going to look like, a little different configuration. And here was the stake in the heart from the mayor of Worcester.
Today, I am excited and pleased to announce that the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox will be coming to the city of Worcester.
So we start. Mr. Lucchino, thank you. Mr. Ray, thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Letter of intent with Worcester means explicitly what?
Means that we have entered into a tentative agreement subject to the approval of the Worcester City Council and subject to the approval of the powers that be in the International League and the National Association, which governs minor league baseball. It's not, however, as is often the case, it's not a simple document of a page or two that says we intend to do this. This is a more detailed precursor to a lease.
The financial structure is set up. Contingencies are set up. Things that could blow up. Environmental issues, Dan, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, the canal district in Worcester has got to get cleaned up. I'm an old student of EPA super funding and all that kind of thing. There's always a federal touch to cities trying to clean up space. Are you confident that that is easy?
Yeah, you know, Wyman Gordon, which owns the site that the ballpark would be located on, they've already done a significant amount of remediation work on the site. And there's some typical urban fill, some typical conditions that you'd see on a lot of sort of urban sites like this. So we think it's manageable. And to Larry's point, I think the document that we have is a 35-page LOI. So it's a pretty comprehensive document that does address a number of the issues, from financial issues, other structural issues, other aspects of the deal, in pretty good depth.
Well, you're no dopes. You're not after all of this going to announce that you're moving without the kind of diligence precursor to an agreement, I'm sure. But of course, there are some folks still who are hanging on to the notion that baby come back. You know, that you might say, hey, you know what? Not for nothing, but this thing didn't work out. On a scale of 0 to 100, the chances of that are
very small.
Very small.
Very small.
Okay. Shucks. But hey, this is where the ball bounces, guys. I want to talk about what happened. In essence, what happened?
Well, maybe we can start from the back end. The last issue that was resolved in our discussions with Worcester was the remediation issue that you just mentioned.
The environmental.
The environmental issue. That was not resolved until the final week. The announcement came on Friday, late in the evening on Wednesday. that issue was resolved, and the matter was sort of left open so that we would both sides could sleep on it to make sure that we had an understanding that we were comfortable with. So it really did come down to August 16th as the time when we made a decision. And Dan will tell you that I have a tendency to walk to the end of the diving board before making big decisions, and I want to know exactly what the options are if I can, and exactly what position each side is in if I can. And so that's what we did. We walked to the end of the diving board in a couple of different places, including Pawtucket.
Let's go back historically. We don't have to belabor the point because we've all talked about it in different forms enough. I mean, the idea when the ownership group took over, you had a Providence program. It fell flat. It caused some raw nerves. I think you candidly admitted that publicly. You regrouped and focused on Pawtucket. Would you like to have that moment back, the Providence moment back?
Well, the Providence moment was created in large part by Jim Skeffington, the late Jim Skeffington. He was a Providence chauvinist. He grew up there, spent his entire life there, his entire working career there, and he really thought that it was the right place for the team. We thought, given the fact that the ballpark was at that time about 76 years old, that a new ballpark was appropriate and would stabilize and make more sustainable the PawSox in Rhode Island.
Right? The structure damage just one way or the other. Something had to give.
And that was the result of that study that we did with the city and the state to look at the structure and to say you need $36 million just to maintain it and continue the operation in the next few years. So I think it's pretty clear. But to Larry's point about Jim, it's tough to play the hypothetical game. I still think that if Jim was still with us, we may be playing in Providence right now because he had a roadmap and a way to get there that was,
well,
clearly his.
Listen, Jim Skeffington was a very effective guy. He was a very confident guy, and he was very wired into the legislature. And there's no doubt that he thought he had wired this deal with the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House bought into it, and because the Speaker of the House felt like he was 11 feet out on a 10-foot board with the Providence deal, he had resentment for what was going to go on. He said to the governor, "Hey, listen, Pawtucket now, you take it." And everyone can grade the governor on her effectiveness there. I thought she was rope-a-dope tepid at best in this thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But you come back to Pawtucket, and I mean, from the home plate press conference to the feasibility studies to the whole thing, the thing was on its way. Now, what people forget is that you had a year of patience. There was a due date, not of this past legislative session, but the prior, correct?
Yes, we were planning to have this thing done by 2020 for the 2020 season. That was our goal, articulated right from the beginning. The PawSox stage, the Pawtucket stage of this negotiation was probably about 3 of the 3.5 years. The first 6 months or so were spent on the Providence possibility, and then we turned to getting it done in Pawtucket, getting it done in Rhode Island, but in Pawtucket, and we spent about 3 years on that. But the problem through the end was certainty, predictability, reliability. Would it happen? Would it happen? Would it happen? There is no question in my mind that we at the PawSox gave Rhode Island and Pawtucket every chance we could.
It was almost, I think, 15 months ago, more than 15 months ago, that we stood there at Slater Mill and had that announcement about the deal that we had with Commerce and with the city of Pawtucket that would then go to the legislature. So that certainty word was a really big word for us because as we were looking at this decision, Larry insisted all along, let's get the best offers that we can from Rhode Island and compare that to any alternatives that are valuable for us. And the certainty quotient was a big one for us.
Dan, if I may, I think that was stage 2. Stage 1 was monogamy with the state of Rhode Island.
Right, there was an exclusivity period there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things that's been missing, this is maybe unorthodox to put this in right now, but I don't want to miss this issue, and it's not been well discussed and not covered enough. The International League has protocols for the extension that an ownership group can actually do on their own in terms of their financial reach, because they're the backstop.
Right.
That didn't get enough attention here. So when the idea was that you guys are, looking for taxpayer money, like the $45 million package, $12 million down, $33 million in lease payments covered, was the most money of any ownership group in the International League for a startup stadium investment?
I
Yes
think
or no?
Yes, yes. And I
And
think
the
you'd
league
say
probably
that,
had a choke point as to how much they wanted to see you guys do.
yeah, they were not wild about this agreement.
So
They
the
thought
idea
that
that
we
you
had
guys
tried
could-
too hard.
Okay, because that didn't get enough attention.
Yeah.
It wasn't recognized by public officials enough. Nobody battled back on the public sentiment that was driving the post-38 mentality,
Yeah.
post-38 studios mentality, which was, you guys want everything from us. In fact, you guys put more into the deal than any other franchise, and the league probably was at choke point with confidence. Am I correct in that?
You are correct. You're absolutely correct. And it goes back even further than that. We were affirmatively told by the Speaker and his representatives that we should look at the last 10 years of ballpark construction at AAA, and if you wanted to, we could look at the AA, but they wanted to have a summary of the last 10 years of ballpark construction, public-private partnerships for the most part, as they were, and they wanted to know what the market was, and they were not prepared to.
Understood.
That was their suggestion to us at the very outset. We came up with a deal that was much better than the market. Part of that was because our folks, our ownership group was committed to Rhode Island. We wanted to stay in Rhode Island. We wanted to be in Providence. We wanted to be in Pawtucket. And we reached more deeply into our pockets so that the deal would be more heavily favored.
Although when we come back, we'll talk about how the ownership group soured. I have a feeling these two guys did the best they could to hold on to this thing more than the ownership group's mentality. And also, this concept of leadership, sometimes you got to call out the leaders on their self-congratulations. Stay with us.
If my mother were still alive, this is the advice she would give me. Larry, why don't you take your team where it's wanted, where they really very much support you and want to have this ballpark done? Go where you're wanted, not where there's controversy and disagreement and opposition.
I have to say, my mom is deceased as well, and I often wonder what she would say about all sorts of things. But that's pretty acute. Do you have like a seance moment?
No.
I mean,
my mother had a tendency to simplify things and just getting down to basic issues. At one point, there was a concern over a team partnership I was going to join, and she said, "Don't worry about all these enumerated powers." I'm sure she didn't say enumerated, but just get a free hand to run the franchise. And so my contract in San Diego says Larry shall have a free hand to run the franchise.
Well, that story reminds us about what kind of resume you have. I think people need to remember the kind of major league, but not only baseball operations, but stadium building resume that you have. Let's talk about leadership for a second here. I don't know if you guys caught this, but one of the things I kept clamoring over during this whole thing was, can everybody get in a room? Because it seems to me that 19,000 hearings on the Senate side and a couple quickies on the House side, you know, a incongruence in terms of the deals. Nobody, you know, the infighting that's such versus what I know is the fertile, almost orgasmic feeling that you guys had with Massachusetts in their consistency, their exclusivity, their confidentiality, their system of looking at the whole thing. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. But at the Irish Wake that we had in Pawtucket last week, where the mayor was saying, you know, the PawSox didn't make Pawtucket, Pawtucket made the PawSox, understandably, posted, I asked him if everybody got together. I'll show you the segment of last week's show if you didn't see it, continuous with my then checking the governor. This is a segment from the show with the mayor, and watch his reaction.
Confirm one more time how many times the governor, the Senate president, the House Speaker, the mayor, and the PawSox city officials got together in one room to try to bang this deal out.
That clearly is a difference. We did it. We chose to do it in different reasons. We were never in the same room at the same time. That's fair. Absolutely.
And notwithstanding the boatload of dough that Worcester put on the table, the Senate deal would have been accepted by the PawSox, yes or no?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. Yes.
So that's the Mayor Grebian yesterday at a press conference after the formal affair. And, you know, I asked him that question because I wanted to get it on the record, that leadership in this state never got in the same room at the same time to put this thing through. That's why you had such a bifurcated, broken system. So I went to the governor seconds later to ask her the same question.
questions, Governor.
Yes.
Can you confirm the number of times you, the Senate President, the House Speaker, the Mayor, and Pawtucket Red Sox officials got together in a room to try to make this deal happen?
I have no idea. What I can tell you is I personally spent hundreds of hours on this, negotiating with all of those parties, and my Commerce Secretary spent, 10 times that. So,
when we claim leadership, all the leadership never got in the same room with the players.
True. That is not true. I had them in my office on more than one occasion.
The Speaker, the
Yes.
Senate President,
Yes.
you, the
And Larry
PawSox, the Mayor, to put a deal together.
Yes, absolutely.
So you just said you didn't remember, and now I'm asking you again.
Said a number of times. I don't know if it was 1 or 2 or 5, but
The Mayor just told me it never happened.
that isn't true. I specifically remember sitting at my desk.
We're back on.
Okay.
Don Grevian was speechless. You guys ever have a reflection on that, Larry? As you try to put a deal together? I understand maybe threw a couple of, I don't know if you threw chairs, but I know you had a couple of moments with the Speaker individually. The idea that this deal being as important as it was and so many players that needed to be at the table, that there was never that kind of working session or sessions is disgraceful.
Well, the lesson that I draw from it, in my opinion, is that the Rhode Island process was flawed. It was flawed because people didn't get together and try to solve what was basically a public policy issue. What do we do with a public facility that's 78 years old and has completed its useful life? Is there a need for a new one, and how should we structure it? There was never that sense that we all would get together in the same room and iron out our differences.
Did you ever ask for it? I'm not saying it was your responsibility, but did you ever say, guys, why aren't we all in the same room?
You know,
with all the deals you've put together?
We have been in the, let me just say, we were in the same room in Massachusetts. So we didn't specifically ask for it. But,
and boy, didn't that feel like a little rub on your belly?
Yeah,
I mean that.
yeah,
Did he,
yeah,
right? The negotiation felt what?
The mayor is right that this was a different type of approach. This was much more everybody take their individual shot
the
along
mayor's
the
being
way.
diplomatic because he's got a city to continue to run. He may leave, but he's got to save his city.
Yeah,
he's got to work with
and I have nothing but admiration for Mayor Grevian. I got to tell you, he was passionate, he was dogged, he was hardworking, he was indefatigable, and I wish that I only wish that the group mechanism that exists, or in fact doesn't exist, in my opinion, in Rhode Island, could be one of the beneficial byproducts of this process.
When we come back, they still got to hang around for 2 years. They had to factor that in. Next.
But when the discussion of progress in this city involves the discussion of baseball, we would expect to have a seat at that table. My question to this body, what else can we do?
Now, for those of you who think Worcester and the market might be weak, that Braveheart team with college kids who put 2,500 people in a sun-baked Holy Cross Stadium pretty easily.
Last couple of years, that's true.
So, quick one on that. You going to coexist with that club?
We have met numerous times with John Creedon and the ownership of that club.
Yeah, I should mention that's the general manager of the Bravehearts, which is a college-based independent baseball operation.
Not unlike the Cape Cod League.
Correct. And it's great ball.
Yeah.
It's great ball.
We were at a hearing last night actually in Worcester and talked about our desire to work with them and continue talking with them and supporting baseball at all levels. Little League, American Legion, right up to professional baseball. That's going to be a big effort of ours as we continue.
If they suck 2,500 people out a night, can your model work in Worcester?
I think our model is a pretty robust model. I think it can work on different levels.
The marketplace that people don't understand about central Massachusetts is that you're going to have an Eastern Mass feeder market, and you're also going to have a Western Mass feeder market. When I was in Springfield for such a long time, there was efforts to get minor league baseball there that failed. The entire western portion of the suburbs, it's 20 minutes into Worcester. Brimfield, Ludlow, Palmer, all those places. And so I think people miss that capacity challenge there. Dr. Steinberg, the guy that sits in between you two in the management lineup there, who's a softie, was doing a lot of interviews last week, doing the old, well, you know, we love Pawtucket, and you never know. Would you tell him to stop it? There's no way you guys are going to put a singular AA team in here under your own exclusivity. If I was the governor of Massachusetts, I'd crown you for even thinking that, right?
No,
right?
We haven't gotten to that stage.
But
Dan,
seriously,
I got to tell you, I don't know what the governor of Massachusetts
by the way,
would say
we don't
do.
want sloppy seconds here in Rhode Island. We
I hear
really
you.
don't. We don't want a singular AA team.
I hear you.
So we ought to stop that. You know, if there's a soccer team and Bob Kraft wants to do something, whatever. You know, you're the next American cyanamide coming in here. Do they still exist? You know, if Hasbro can be cajoled into staying, who knows? But let's not kid ourselves.
I will say though, Dan, I mean, I don't have Charles's diplomatic touch necessarily, but I think
you can
for
say
us,
that again.
I definitely don't have his diplomatic touch. But you know, I think for us, looking at here the next 2 years, one thing we have to remember is we're still at McCoy Stadium for 2 more seasons, so close to 150 games of baseball. And I think one of the messages that we tried to get out there over the last couple of weeks is the fact that we're still here. You know, even with the move to Worcester, we're still part of the Blackstone Valley.
Well,
we're not moving
do you have any
to San
comps,
Diego or Los Angeles.
Any comps on transition like this and what it costs you? Is it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of the gate? And certainly that was part of your equation, short-term investment to move. Then again, you put half the money down in Worcester than you would have here, so you're going to take a hit. You know that.
Yeah, we do expect that that may occur, but there have been some places where the first city, that being Pawtucket, was so embraced another team that was about to move that there was a nostalgia, a sentimentality. We don't have a precise number of what is going to happen in the next year or two.
I get a couple of buses in Worcester
to
to come down to ball
that.
games if you want to fill the stadium, because I think you're going to have some challenges.
But we did have, you know, after the announcement that Friday afternoon when Larry spoke in Worcester and we were there, we went back to McCoy Stadium. We had really good crowds that weekend. Now, that might be a small sample size, but the Saturday night, the Sunday afternoon, they looked like the typical crowds.
I wish I had an hour with you guys. Moral of the story in 10 seconds is what? Moral of the story is what?
The moral of the story is that people need to work together as a team to get things done. That's true for a state government, as it is true for a business, as it is true for any group endeavor.
I'm sorry. I mean, if anything shouldn't have happened in the state of Rhode Island, this shouldn't have happened. Agreed?
That was not our goal. Our goal was to make it work in Rhode Island and keep it here till 2050 under this lease. That was what we sought out to do.
Guys, thank you. We'll keep the conversation going, because 2 years is a long time to break up. You know? But I appreciate your candor and your attendance to the issue. When we come back, a final word. Thanks. Back to the governor's race tomorrow. Joe Trillo, independent candidate, will be here, and he's having a field day, just picking on Raimondo and Fung for not showing up for debates, which is, it's just another classic. My chapter number for my book, Only in Rhode Island, is up to about 67 right now. The PawSox will be its own separate saga, I think. And Friday, NEA Executive Director, that's the teacher union, Bob Walsh, to refute Mike Stenhouse earlier in the week, who said that, hey, you union members don't have to be union members, and all the benefits of not being a union member. The union guy doesn't like that. He'll be here Friday. All right, we'll see you on the radio tomorrow at 3 on WPRO. Thank you for watching. Good night.